Yes, it's me. And no, it's not cricket. But it's the same energy. It's not between the runs, but the laps. It's not between two teams, but many to come. It's not just between the players, but also their machines. Sweat, not in the jerseys, but in their gears. It's about the race this time. Show up to cheer for Amchi Mumbai.
Mumbai Falcons at the Asian F3 Championship UAE.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Mumbai Falcons Racing Ltd coverage of the F3 Asian Championship on the Dubai Autodrome. It is the fourth round of the 2021 Championship. I'm Jake Sanson. I'm going to be talking you through all of the action as it happens here in these three races across the 3 days. It certainly has been a scintillating and very entertaining championship battle thus far over the course of the first 3 rounds. We have had victories for the Chinese driver Guan Yu Zhou, 4 wins for Pierre-Louis Chauvet, and for the Indian star Jehan Daruvala. He has come through to the victory dais on 3 separate occasions, and now the championship fight is going to be fever pitch over the course of these next 2 rounds at Dubai Autodrome on the Grand Prix circuit and at Abu Dhabi. Here are the championship standings at present. Pierre-Louis Chauvet 10 points ahead of Jehan Daruvala, and then Guan Yu Zhou is 5 points further back, and he has taken first blood with pole position in qualifying for both races 1 and 3 of round 4. Isak Hajar and Dino Beganovic no longer racing with us for the remainder of the 2021 season, sadly, and they have been replaced. Isak Hajar by Alex Connor and Dino Beganovic by David Vidales, the Spanish driver. Roy Nizani and Ayumu Awasa are still with us, as is Cem Bolukbasi. And Patrick Pasma and Roman Stanek are going to try and get some more points on the board. Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema leading the team standings ahead of the Mumbai Falcons India Racing Team from Pinnacle Motorsport and Evans GB. High-Tech Grand Prix are in P5 ahead of Black Arts Racing, with Motorscape finally getting some points on the board last time out. So the cars are obviously lined up in position as we get ourselves ready for round 4 of this 2021 championship. Fabulous performance from qualifying earlier. Guan Yu Zhou, the Chinese driver, getting in the pole position lap, a 1:55.356. The steely-eyed viewers will obviously note that the lap is going to be quite a bit longer this time compared to in previous positions on the course. But we're going to have an absolutely fabulous race here at Dubai Autodrome.
Hi, I'm Roman Stanek. I'm 16 years old from Czech Republic. I'm racing for the High-Tech GP.
I'm Iwasa from Japan.
I'm Zdenek Chovanec. I'm from Venezuela and I race in the F3 Asian Championship.
Hi, I'm Guan Yu from Shanghai, China. I'll be competing in the Formula 3 Asian Championship.
Hi, I'm Jehan Daruvala from India.
Hi, I'm Kush Maini from India, racing for the Mumbai Falcons in the Asian F3 Championship.
Hello, I am Irina Sidorkova from Russia.
Hi, I'm Alessio Deledda from Italy, racing in F3 Asian Championship.
Hi, I'm Roberto Faria from Brazil. I'm racing the F3 Asia.
Hi, I'm Nicola Marinangeli from Italy, racing for F3 Asia Championship.
Hi, my name is Patrick Pasma from Finland. I'm racing in the Asian F3 Championship.
Jehan Daruvala started from pole and held a 1-point lead over Chauvet in the series, who started alongside on grid 2. But it was Pierre-Louis with another perfect launch to lead the field into turn 1. Roy Nissani and Patrick Pasma came together on lap 1, eliminating the Finn. And when the safety car pulled back in, Chauvet raced away for his third win to now lead the series. Jehan second, and an intelligent drive from Joel, who held off Beganovic for third.
Yeah, the start was really nice. I overtook Jehan at the first turn. Yeah, the race wasn't too good. I think still P2 in the end, so not too bad. But yeah, I just wasn't fast enough to win today.
Because obviously for the race 2 is quite important, and it was really difficult to stay behind.
Having mastered the start in race 1, Chauvet was again perfect off the line, leading Joe and Beganovic, who launched into third from the third row of the grid. The safety car was deployed after Batignon and Luthen came together, and again for a second time when Nissani and Marinangeli came together as well. It was fortunate for Zhu, who had run wide onto the straight just as the yellow waved. At the restart, Chauvet was again faultless, and he raced away to his fourth victory of the series.
I managed to do a gap like of 1.3, 1.4 seconds ahead of Guan Yu Zhu.
P2 was good enough, but actually I was quite surprisingly we had a really good pace.
No, I mean it was a tough race for sure. Starting from P5, already P3.
Jehan Daruvala needed a good result to keep his championship on track, and he did just that in race 3. From pole, he led Zhu and fast-starting Hadja down into turn 1, and under pressure from the pack, was given breathing space when the safety car intervened after a nasty clash between Beganovic and Bolokbasi. Series leader Chauvet would miss the podium in fourth as he fought off Pasma, but out front it was a perfect drive from Jehan to take the win from Zhou and Hadja as the series now heads back to Dubai.
I think these last 2 rounds have been good, so I'm just looking forward to improving and hopefully winning some more races.
Yeah, end of the day, I mean, it's a good weekend in terms of the championship points.
I got past Chauvet and then just had a very good pace.
So highlights there from the last 3 races of the season, which took place down the road last weekend.
Good to catch the highlights from last time out, of course, at the Yas Marina circuit. You were hearing, of course, from the voice of Ian Salvestrin, who was commentating last week, of course. It's me you're lumbered with for the next 3 races. Hope it's okay with you guys. The F3 Asian Championship continues for 2021 here at the Dubai Autodrome on the Grand Prix circuit this time as well. So it's definitely going to be fascinating to see how the battle is going to be, as the competitors are obviously going to be lining up on the starting grid for this one. A very different challenge awaits the drivers. This time a 3-race weekend, 1 race per day as well. So it's obviously going to be very, very exciting. And of course, now teaming up for the last 2 rounds of the championship with the Asian Le Mans Series in conjunction. So this should be a fascinating battle between the 3 drivers who are at the front of the title fight. Pierre-Louis Chauvet of France, Jehan Daruvala of India, and Guan Yu Zhou of China. And it's first blood to the 3rd man in that respect, Guan Yu Zhou, who will take the pole position. And of course, that is going to put him in the best possible position to lead off from the front. Now, the other championship, of course, in the F3 Asian Championship Brigade is the Rookie Cup. Isak Hajar and Dino Beganovic were leading that coming into the weekend, but with neither driver on the grid this time, it's obviously going to be a very different driver that will take that crown. And that is likely to be the Japanese driver Ayumi Iwasa. But the 2 drivers who are going to try and take that crown away from him as well are Cembolok Bassi of Turkey and Reis Ushijima of Great Britain. So it'll be fascinating to see what he can do. Lorenzo Flusha and Roberto Faria are still in that battle as well. A couple of new faces for this weekend. David Vidales, the Spanish driver who takes over from Dino Beganovic's seat at Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema. And then, of course, we have Khaled Al-Kubaisi, the father of Amna, who is going to be in the same team as his daughter. I think that's the first time in history that in Formula 3 a father and daughter will compete on the same starting grid. I'm fairly sure that's the first time it's ever happened in any form of Formula 3 racing worldwide in history. And the British driver Alex Connor has got his opportunity to compete in Formula 3 Asia as well, as he takes up the reins this weekend at the Evans GP squad, taking over from Isaac Hajar in car number 5. Actually taking over from Casper Stevenson, I should say, in car number 4. They go around on their formation lap, and it'll be Guan Yu Zhou from the front of the grid. Alongside him, the Frenchman Pierre-Louis Chauvet of France. So the drivers warming up their tyres and brakes to optimum temperature as always. And we are on the formation lap, so let's talk you through the starting grid. Guan Yu Zhou and Pierre-Louis Chauvet will be on the front row of the starting grid. Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema alongside Pinnacle Motorsport. Third on the grid, Ayumi Iwasa of Japan and Jehan Daruvala for the Mumbai Falcons team in the second row. P5 is Roberto Faria of Brazil for Motorscape, and Roman Stanek, the Czech driver, right up in P6. Then it's Patrick Pasma, and on his debut, David Vidales qualifies a very strong 8th. Rhys Ushijima lines up 9th alongside the Israeli Roy Nazani on row 5. Row 6 is Alex Connor, and he is alongside Cembolok Bassi from Turkey. Then on the 7th row, it's Alexandre Bardenot and Lorenzo Flusha, who is there together on row 7. Rafael Villagomez and Alessio Daleda for Black Arts Racing and Pinnacle Motorsport, respectively. Irina Sidakova and Amna Al-Kubaisi, the two ladies, on the 9th row of the starting grid. Khaled Al-Kubaisi and Kush Mayani way down on the starting grid there, unfortunately, for Kush Mayani. And Nicola Maranangeli will find himself down at the back of the grid. So a fascinating battle for the competitors as they tour their way around the Dubai Autodrome circuit. And obviously this is a longer configuration of the course than we had 2 weeks ago at Dubai Autodrome to start the season. The winners then were Guan Yu Zhou and Pierre-Louis Chauvet, twice for the Chinese and once for the Frenchman. But now it's going to be a very different story indeed, as Guan Yu Zhou will win the sole race of the day. They're actually going to have 3 races across 3 days in the Asian Formula 3 Championship this time out, as courtesy of the partnership of this weekend with the Asian Le Mans Series, which is making its first of 2 weekends. But this is going to be a fascinating challenge for Guan Yu Zhou, who starts from the front of the grid. And, of course, with him being only 5 points back from Jehan Daruvala and 15 points back from Pierre-Louis Chauvet, it's going to be a fascinating challenge for him as the Chinese driver will work his magic to try and move up the order. But, of course, Jehan Daruvala is only 10 points back from the championship leader himself, so he will want to move his way further forward as well. They come up towards the final turn where the Radisson Blu Hotel overlooks the circuit. It's probably the best seat in the house for the people who are deciding to watch from their balconies. Obviously keeping socially distant under COVID-19 protocols. But the racers are going to make their way to the starting grid. It'll be Zhou and Chauvet, Iwasa and Daruvala, Faria and Stanek, Pasma and Vidales, Ushijima and Nazani, from Connor and Bolokbasi, Bardenot and Flusha, Villagomez and Daleda, Sidakova and Amna Al-Kubaisi, from Khaled Al-Kubaisi, Kush Mayani and Nicola Maranangeli. So the final few cars just getting themselves into position, as the drivers will obviously make their way round to the first positions on the grid. And it's going to be a tough one for Guan Yu Zhou. You get a sense of the atmosphere down on the starting grid again as the competitors are there together. But Pierre-Louis Chauvet will be on the front of the starting grid, but in pole position itself, it is going to be Guan Yu Zhou. The final cars are in position on the back of the starting line. The green flag will fly and we'll go racing here in the Asian Formula 3 Championship as we continue with this battle in 2021. The competitors are together as we go racing here. So the lights will go out, and when they do, we'll go racing in Asian Formula 3. Let's race for race 1 of round 4. Good start from Chauvet. Guan Yu Zhou gets a perfect getaway, but he's going to try and squeeze Chauvet as they come up to the first corner. It will be an absolutely thrilling tussle between the two men. And watch on the other side, because there's obviously opposition coming in from Roberto Faria. The Brazilian has made a sensational start. He runs a bit wide. Jehan Daruvala could get an opportunity to move past there into 3rd position, and he does take it round the outside. Ayumi Iwasa is trying to come up to 4th place, and side by side, Guan Yu Zhou and Chauvet, neither driver is willing to give best, and Chauvet gets through. Brilliant brilliant run from the Frenchman as he overtakes Guan Yu Zhou, and on the far side of the circuit, the Frenchman asserts himself in the lead with a championship very much on the run. So Guan Yu Zhou in second place has to stare at the gearbox of the car in front. Pierre-Louis Chauvet steps up to the challenge through the left-hander hairpin, and he is already starting to stretch out the gap. That's one of the Evans GP cars that's come up into fourth position. I would guess that could be Roman Stanek after a great start. Jehan Daruvala is trying to hold off the charge at the moment as they come through at the back straight. And Daruvala doesn't have the straight line speed to avert, but he is going to try and keep it on the inside line, and that is a lovely overtaking move from the number 4 of Patrick Pasma, in fact. So it's Pasma that's made the bold start, and so Pasma is up into third position. What a crackerjack launch from the Finn, who is now up into third place. Jehan Daruvala is now defending from the Japanese Red Bull young gun, Ayumu Iwasa. So Iwasa is trying to come through into fourth position, the French F4 champion from last year. Still battling his way. He goes to the right-hand side. Daruvala seems to have a bit of an issue with straight line speed advantage at the moment, and it's going to be a tough one for the Indian to defend. He's going to have to squeeze Iwasa to the far side. Iwasa keeps his foot in. There's a big lock-up further back. Iwasa drives right round the outside, and the Japanese driver is through. Beautiful overtaking move from Ayumu Iwasa as he comes through into P4. And that is a scintillating opening lap, but it's not done yet because Roy Nissany is fancying his chances. Oh, no, sorry, that is Roman Stanek in the high-tech. So Stanek still up towards the top 6, but he now sees an opportunity to go for the move. So Chauvet, Zhou, Pasma, Iwasa, Daruvala, Stanek, Faria and Bolubasi is the order at the moment from Nizani and David Vidales. The Spaniard is there in position. Stanek has a bit of a look at Daruvala. So tries his best to come through. Has not been able to make that one stick. So they come through on the far side. A long race, of course, in Asian Formula 3. Half an hour on the clock. The battle working its way through in the chicane. This is an absolutely scintillating start from Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Guan Yu Zhou doing well in second place. Patrick Pasma absolutely lightning off the run. And the rookie leader is Ayumu Iwasa. With the absence of Isaac Hajar and Dino Bogdanovic, it's time for the Japanese start to really make his move. So Chauvet, Zhou, Pasma, Iwasa, Daruvala, Stanek, Faria, Bolubasi, Nizani and Vidales as they run through in the top 10. So down the back straight. A really strong run from the Frenchman, and as you can see, some semblance of law and order is making its presence felt on the back straight as the drivers are getting into a decent rhythm. A little bit of a challenge there from Roberto Faria to try and have a look at Roman Stanek. Can't quite make the move stick, but David Vidales is hustling Roy Nizani there, who is closing in on the Black Arts driver, Chembolok Bassi. So a very exciting run on the second lap here at Dubai Autodrome. The challenge continues and the battle is well and truly joined. But that top 10 is going to change a couple of times, I think, over the course of this race, especially with this longer Grand Prix configuration, meaning less laps, but more overtaking opportunities. So we could see a few more dices over the course of the race distance. So Chauvet, Zhou, Pasma, Iwasa, Daruvala, Stanek, Faria, Bolubasi, Nissany and Vidales is the top 10 at the moment. A truly international field, and it looks as though Kush Mayani has gone into the pits at the end of the opening lap. So problems earlier that dropped him to 20th on the starting grid, and now Kush Mayani, I'm afraid, it looks like he's already in trouble as he has brought the car into the pits. So the battle continues, but it's Pierre-Louis Chauvet who has this advantage over Guan Yu Zhou. Patrick Pasma going well in third. Japanese star Ayumu Iwasa, is still very comfortable in position. Jehan Daruvala and Roman Stanek from Faria, Chembolok Bassi, Roy Nizani, David Vidales. Alex Connor has got past Risa Shijima on lap 2 as well, so he's moved his way up into 11th place. Then Alexandro Bardino in front of Rafael Villagomez and Lorenzo Flucha. And then we have Nicola Maranangeli from Irina Sedakova, Alessio Deleda. And then Amner is ahead of Khaled Al-Kubaisi with Kush Mayani down at the back of the field for the moment. So there are 2 Emirati racers in the field, of course. There is Kush Mayani's car being worked on. Not great news indeed for the Mumbai Falcons racing team, and that's just what they didn't need to start the race weekend for Kush Mayani. And he's been there in the pits since the first lap, so clearly there is definitely something amiss with the front end of the car. But the mechanics have to do their routines and their protocols. They have to make sure everything goes according to plan. I think Kush Mayani just trying to keep an eye on the lap times during the race itself, because obviously he is going to need that data coming into race 2 tomorrow morning. So Chauvet ahead of Zhou, Pasma, Iwasa, Daruvala and Stanek. You can see the gaps between the cars at the moment on screen, Zhou is just under a second away from Pierre-Louis Chauvet, but that's the momentum that you gain on the first lap. Chauvet is now in a commanding position. He could go and grab win number 5 of the season here. And with the confidence that's going to give him a 10-point swing already over the likes of Daruvala and Zhou, this is the perfect tonic for Pierre-Louis Chauvet to basically run away and hide in the championship fight, as he wants to extend that advantage and stretch out a very impressive lead. So it will obviously come down to the morale and the good fight of the competitors, but this is not great news for Jehan Daruvala, who is of course now in 5th position, and that will give him a net 10 points, I believe, from the 5th position spot. But his main rival, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, is on 25, and that's looking very good for him. If it ends like this, his lead will be an exact Grand Prix victory, 25 points. So from Chauvet's point of view, winning this one actually gives him a really sustaining lead heading to the championship closing stages with 5 races to run after this one. But you can't count your chickens before you hatch in this particular sport, because obviously you just don't know what's going to happen from race to race. And Chauvet did have a mechanical problem in practice yesterday and actually had to be rescued on the back of a low loader. So it's not been perfect for Chauvet, but thank goodness for him and the team. It seems as though his problems have only managed to occur when the races have not been on. So far, though, Zhou, you can see, is starting to chip away again at Chauvet. He needs to pile the pressure on the Chinese ace, because he is currently 3rd in the points, 5 behind Daruvala and 15 behind Chauvet. He needs to turn the tide here. So any opportunity he can to cut the advantage that Chauvet has in the championship fight in half is obviously going to be embraced warmly by the Chinese driver. So the field continues, but Chauvet ahead of Zhou, Pasma, Iwasa and Daruvala. Now, Patrick Pasma's best result of the season is a 4th place finish, which he did in the opening race of round 2 at Abu Dhabi last week. So a 3rd place for Patrick Pasma really would be sensational. The advantage for the other drivers in the field is that 2 of the drivers who have been serial podium scorers since the start of the season are now no longer competing in the Asian F3 Championship, and that of course is Isaac Ajar of France and Dino Beganovic of Sweden. So neither driver going to be scoring podiums for the remaining 2 weekends of the championship, which gives everybody else a golden opportunity. Now the gap at the end of the last lap was 0.8 of a second. You can see for yourself that the gap is much less than that as Zhou comes across the line. And the gap is down to 0.4 of a second, in fact. So Guanyu Zhou has a great chance in the slipstream, probably on the back straight. He has a little bit of a feint of a look on the inside of Chauvet, but he's not actually going to make the overtaking move there. So Chauvet is going to continue to hold his line, but Guanyu Zhou is really starting to unlock that untapped pace in the Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema car. But it's still looking really good for the Pinnacle Motorsport driver, run by fantastic Irish contingent, but they are doing an amazing job here in Asian Formula 3, and their superstar youngster Pierre-Louis Chauvet is already proving himself to be a star of the future. So there's Ayumi Iwasa, the Japanese driver, 4th position, Daruvala, and there is Roman Stanek of the Czech Republic, ahead of Roberto Faria of Brazil, Cembolik Bassi of Turkey, and then Roy Nissani of Israel and David Vidales of Spain. Here we go. Guanyu Zhou is starting to step up the attack now on Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Chauvet actually starts to break the toe because he knows that Guanyu Zhou is going to be looking for opportunities. He has another feint of a look on Chauvet. He's hoping that he can get into Pierre-Louis Chauvet's blind spot behind him in the mirrors and start to get the Frenchman rattled in the hope that he'll make a mistake or two and Guanyu Zhou can take advantage. So the battle continues to reign. It really is sensational. And let's not forget that Guanyu Zhou has a real mentality to go for the title here, because there are 18 super license points available in Formula One's super license criteria to win the Asian Formula 3 Championship. So for the likes of Guanyu Zhou and Jehan Daruvala in particular, who are in Formula 2, trying to get that one step closer to a Formula 1 seat, this is a brilliant opportunity to get themselves on that Formula 1 grid in the future. So Guanyu Zhou is really stepping it up. He may even go for the attack into the first corner as they come out of the final turn, back on the power. If he's fractionally quicker at doing so than Pierre-Louis Chauvet, he can capitalise on that and get the slipstream. This is where Chauvet is going to really need to start playing the defensive move. 20 minutes on the clock. Chauvet trying to shake off the Chinese driver, Guanyu Zhou, and this might be the opportunity. He's going to have another quick feint to the inside. Chauvet's not going to crack under the pressure. They go through turn 1, and now as they flick out to the left-hand side on turn 2, this is where Chauvet really needs to keep the rhythm and not let Zhou get into his head. So Patrick Pasma still runs 3rd. Yuma Uwasa, the Japanese driver, running a great race, I have to say, in 4th place ahead of Jehan, Daruvala. And then Stanek, Faria, Bolokbasi, Nizani, Vidalis, Connor, Ushijima, Baldino, Villa Gomez and Flusha. The only retirement in the race thus far is Kush. So the Indian driver, I'm afraid, has not been able to get the car back out on track, I do believe. So this is a scintillating battle coming up. Now look, Chauvet is immediately trying to break the toe from Guan Yu Zhou. Guan Yu Zhou with another opportunity to close up. And Chauvet is doing his best to try and get some fast laps in. He is faster than Guan Yu Zhou in the first split, which is very important at this stage of the race. He's got to try and keep that motivation sky high. He's slightly quicker than Guan Yu Zhou on the first sector, as I mentioned, and obviously by the time they come through to sector 2, it's going to be interesting to see who is quicker. So Chauvet is stepping up the attack. He is starting to accelerate clear of Guan Yu Zhou, but the Chinese driver, we know how feisty he can be. So there is still plenty of opportunities, and if Guan Yu Zhou goes for a move and Chauvet is not going to be prepared to let him have it, we could see an absolutely rip-roaring battle between these two, with the likes of Pasma, Iwasa, Daruvala and Stanek poised to capitalise if fisticuffs should turn into fireworks. So they come off the top of the Bray, down towards the park-in, the final turn, and this is where Guan Yu Zhou has another great chance on Pierre-Louis Chauvet. He gets on the power. If it's even fractionally earlier than the Frenchman, he's got a claim to the first corner. They come down the main straight. Guan Yu Zhou still hustling Pierre-Louis Chauvet. 0.386 of a second is the gap, and you can see that the team is still going to work on Kush Mayani's car in the pit lane. Not a great performance from the number 28 car today. Kush Mayani not really able to get much of an opportunity to put in his best race drive in this 4th round of the championship. Hopefully, he will get another chance in race 2 tomorrow. But obviously this is a critical round of the championship. And look at Pasma! Pasma has caught right up to the back end now. As Guan Yu Zhou, oh sorry, this is a little further back. I think that's Chembolok Bassi we are watching. Oh no, sorry, this is even further down in the field. This is David Vidalis in front of Alex Connor and Risa Shijima. So this is the battle for 10th place as the Shijima starts to make waves. There is Chembolok Bassi, the first ever Formula 1 Esports World Champion, of course, back in 2017. So amazing to see what he can do now in a single-seater. Got to meet him properly last week in Abu Dhabi, and I have to say it is so refreshing and so pleasant to meet such a humble and timid young racer who just wants to keep banging in fast laps and keep pushing and reaching his potential. He's a wonderful young character, Chembolok Bassi, and doing a fantastic job in his first full car racing campaign at this level. It's not easy in a Formula 3 car. They're very heavy, they're quite nimble in the corners, but they're very physical. Drivers have been walking away from sessions with bruising because the cars are so physical, and we've seen obviously some damage to the hands of both Irina Sidakova and Dina Beganovic over the course of the last 2 weekends. That's a lock-up from Pasma. That's not going to do the left front tyre any good at all, but he is pushing very hard as he tries to keep himself on the back bumper of these two cars. So Guan Yu Zhou still pushing, but he's biding his time. He's actually letting Pierre-Louis Chauvet do all the hard work here. He's looking after his tyres, he's looking after his brakes, he's keeping himself very much in the hunt. Half a second back is perfectly fine, but Patrick Pasma, no wonder he was pushing. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:57.566 from the Finn. Great battles further back in the pack as well, as Rhys Ushijima in the high-tech has managed to get past Alex Connor on the last lap. So a good move there from the part Japanese, part American driver. Although, of course, he actually races under a British licence, Risa Shijima, and that's where he does most of his training and discipline. He races, of course, in the British Formula 3 Championship, and so the Asian Formula 3 Regional Championship is a big step up for him, and he's been taking advantage of every opportunity he's been given. So some good racecraft all the way through this field. There's Jehan Daruvala trying to stay in front of Roman Stanek. Faria, Bolokbasi, Nissani and David Vidalis in his first race in Asian Formula 3. Now again, we've got Chauvet on the back straight. We're at half distance now, 15 minutes done and 15 to go. And Chauvet does not need to swerve around trying to get Guan Yu Zhou off his tail because he's just not close enough yet, the Chinese driver. Iwasa is still in 4th place behind Pasma, then Daruvala in the Mumbai Falcons car. Stanek, Faria, Bolokbasi, Nizani and Vidalis. That's your top 10. So far, so good. And there is David Vidalis, who steps into Dino Beganovic's hot seat for the remaining 2 rounds of the season. It's been really fascinating getting to talk to David Vidalis over the course of the weekend. He was one of the principal superstars of the karting scene both at OK Senior level and then KZ Gearbox. And fascinating to be chatting to him these last 2 weekends in the championship. He's just been itching to get behind the wheel of the car. But he really has gained a fascinating technical insight being behind the scenes at Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema as one of the mechanics, because it gives him great insight to jump into the car and just see how fast he can perform. We were rather hoping as well that the young Malaysian star Alistair Young might have got an opportunity to jump into the Lacart's racing team at some point, but unfortunately the funds to compete in the last 2 rounds have yet to materialise. So hopefully he'll get an opportunity in the season finale. If not, keep an eye on Alistair Young's progress. I managed to get to chat to him last week at Abu Dhabi, and I have to say it's going to be very rare to find another Asian driver of such credence and calibre as highly motivated as him. Now Pasma is closing up on Guan Yu Zhou. Has Zhou missed his moment to challenge Pierre-Louis Chauvet? Because if Patrick Pasma gets there before Guan Yu Zhou can respond to Pierre-Louis Chauvet in front, then the victory is going to disappear. And that's a nice move up on the inside, and that is Amner Al-Kubaisi having a dice with Alessio Deleda. Deleda trying to keep his foot in, no chance. Amner Al-Kubaisi storms her way through, beautiful overtaking move, and that keeps her in the hunt in front of the Italian. Amner Al-Kubaisi, of course, with plenty of experience and motivation, still getting used to the Asian Formula 3 car. Of course, this is her first campaign at this level. Is Kush Maini going to get out onto the circuit? Indeed, he is. Several laps down, but every lap on circuit counts in terms of his development and his rhythm with the car and the format. So no reason for Kush Maini to get out of the car yet. He's just going to get these last 13 minutes as an extended test session, essentially, in the car. As we watch again, that is the 38, I do believe, that we're watching out on the course now. It's one of the other Abu Dhabi races. Oh, no, sorry, that is not the 38. It is the 74. That is Chembolik Bassi, I do believe, as he tries to fend off from Nizani and Vidales. Or is this a little bit further up the road? Oh, no, my goodness, this is the leaders again. This is how close Pasma has got to Guan Yu Zhou. I got completely caught out there. I do apologise. Chauvet, Zhou and Pasma are absolutely nose to tail now. So this is going to be an interesting one. The big key factor now is going to be, can Guan Yu Zhou close up and make a move on Chauvet before Patrick Pasma attempts the same thing on Guan Yu Zhou? And Chauvet getting a good lap in there, a 1:58.166, the fastest of the 3 drivers up front. And Piggy in the middle, Guan Yu Zhou, is really struggling to drop the car behind him, Patrick Pasma, and Pierre-Louis Chauvet up in front is starting to stretch a gap. So Guan Yu Zhou really needs to dig deep and find something here. Otherwise, you're going to see Pierre-Louis Chauvet disappear into the distance. Now, Jehan Daruvala is 6.2 seconds off the race leader, Pierre-Louis Chauvet, but still in the top 5. He really does need to keep that car in the top 5 in terms of the championship points scored, because a 5th place finish will give him 10 points. That doesn't put him out of the hunt for the championship by any means, because we'll still have 5 races to go at the end of this one, but it certainly puts him in a better position and a much stronger frame of mind. Now, of course, let's not forget that race 2, the grid is going to be sorted by fastest laps. Now that's fascinating, because Pierre-Louis Chauvet has done a 1:57.682, but that is not as quick as either Patrick Pasma, who has set the fastest lap of the race, or Guan Yu Zhou, who has gone fractionally quicker. So if it stands like this, Pierre-Louis Chauvet is only going to start race 2 tomorrow from 3rd on the grid, but Patrick Pasma, who was in 3rd place, has brought out the fastest lap. And that is a nice little tasty battle we got going on between teammates. That's Rafael Villagomez, the Mexican, along with Lorenzo Flucha of Spain. The 2 drivers battling away together. So an absolutely rip-roaring charge at the moment from the contenders out there on the course. So Pasma is currently looking at pole position for race 2 with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:57.566 from him, and even Guan Yu Zhou can't quite match that at the moment, although Zhou is dropping Pasma again and starting to focus once more on the flying Frenchman out front. Pierre-Louis Chauvet under pressure again from Guan Yu Zhou. 10 minutes on the clock. This is it. Time to get your A game on, boys. 0.4 of a second behind Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Chauvet starting to move. He knows that Guan Yu Zhou is the kind of driver that will pull off a sensational overtaking move. Zhou is trying to force him into the error. There is no error at all from Chauvet through the first part of the course. So a really fascinating performance so far, as Jehan Daruvala in 5th position is on a much better lap this time. He seems to have got it all together in the first sector. And Jehan Daruvala is actually lapping faster than anybody else on the circuit in the first sector. So the Indian has a chance here to close up on Yumu Uasa. Let's not forget that you've got to try and control the tyres for the entirety of a half-hour race. And it's not easy in this heat and in this dusty part of the countryside. It is really tricky to get those tyres to temperature, but it's also very hard to sustain them. As we look back, we've got side-by-side for 8th. That's Bolokbasi and Nizani, I do believe. So Bolokbasi, a former world champion Formula 1 gamer, is battling wheel-to-wheel with the Formula 1 Williams development driver, Roy Nizani, and I think he's got the better of them both. Yes, he has. So Stanek, that is Nizani getting on terms with Bolokbasi, and Bolokbasi, the back end drifts out as he powers through, but he's holding his own there against Roy Nizani. So he's doing a fair job. It's not easy when you've got a guy with such experience to duel away with. That is the 7 in the mix there. That's Roberto Faria, who is trying to get himself into the hunt. No, I do apologise. That is Faria having lost out to Bolokbasi and Nizani. So that's Bolokbasi, I do believe, now up into 7th position. So a good run from the Turkish driver. But look at these 3 up front. Pierre-Louis Chauvet leading the race. Guan Yu Zhou in 2nd, and in 3rd place it is the number 4, Patrick Pasma. And again, Guan Yu Zhou's got a chance on Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Just a whisker over 8 minutes left on the clock. Down the main straight. Chauvet slightly off the racing line. He knows he's got himself firmly looking in the rear view mirror. He's not looking in front of him. He's looking to the right-hand rear view mirror because he can't quite figure out where Guan Yu Zhou's going to place the car. Goodness me, I've never known someone so glued to the rear view mirror down the main straight. He wasn't looking forward, he was definitely looking back. And just to confirm, yes, both Cem Bolokbasi and Roy Nizani managed to get past the Brazilian Roberto Faria on that last lap. So great racing from Bolokbasi and from Nizani. And that's going to put a massive feather in the cap for Cem Bolokbasi, isn't it? A driver who is a former video game star, as the Formula 1 esports champion of 2017, who is now ahead of the Williams F1 development driver Roy Nizani. That's going to give Cem Bolokbasi massive confidence in this second half of the championship. But let's see, who's going to make the first move? Is it Zhou on Chauvet or is it Pasma on Zhou? Very hard to tell. 7 minutes and a little more on the clock. Down the back straight, Iwasa has an advantage over Daruvala and Stanek. And then we've got Cem Bolokbasi, the Turkish star, in 7th position at the moment. The fastest lap of the race, by the way, has just come in from Kush Maini. He's just done a 1:57.460. So that potentially puts Kush Maini in pole position for race 2 tomorrow. That is a brilliant comeback from Kush Maini. That's why he went back out on the circuit. Because obviously, if he is the fastest driver on the course in race 1, he will be pole position for race 2. So it's a very important lap to get right for Kush Maini, and that's exactly what he's done. So we'll keep an eye on him tomorrow, but it looks absolutely fascinating. So Chauvet, Zhou, Pasma, Iwasa, Daruvala, Stanek, Bolokbasi and Nizani from Faria and Vidales. Then it is Ushijima, Connor and Bardino. From Villa Gomez, Flusha, Maninangeli. Although Villa Gomez has got past Alexandra Bardino on that last lap. Flusha, and then Maninangeli from Sidorkova, Deleda, and the Alcubaises. And they're in front of Khaled. Here we go. Chauvet's having to move. Guan Yu Zhou is trying to outfox him. They come through to the first corner. I wonder if he just went over some debris there at the first corner, Guan Yu Zhou. It looked as though something was trying to flick out of the airbox on the side of the side pod. So an interesting one there. Hopefully that hasn't done Guan Yu Zhou's car any damage. But it just looked as though there was a little bit of carbon fibre trying to flick up in front of the Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema car, and that does happen from time to time, especially if 1 or 2 cars have come a little bit too close together. You can't ask a marshal to run out onto the race circuit to collect whatever parts of the car, whatever remnants might be left behind. Absolutely sensational so far. Down the straight. Now watch out for Chauvet. He's keeping the racing line, but he knows that Guan Yu Zhou is there. He's already started to try and break the toe. Guan Yu Zhou's not going to fall for that old chestnut. He's going to work his magic. Great racing down the back of the field as well, as we got the Black Arts cars having a little tussle with Alexandra Bardino in the pinnacle. That is Rafael Villa Gomez, the Mexican, who has got himself into 13th place now, trying to chase down the Englishman, Alex Connor. So down towards the hairpin on the far side. Absolutely sensational stuff so far. Oh, this is a nice little tasty battle down the back straight, and not a lot of quarter given. These two are going to hit each other if they're not careful. Squeezing to the inside line, and they do make contact. That is Deleda and Lorenzo Flusha, I do believe. Neither driver prepared to concede. And I think Alessio Deleida's car is damaged. I think that is the Italian out of the race. Well, this is what happens when you race wheel to wheel. You cannot ask for any quarter or expect it to be given to you either. And Lorenzo Fluscia continues on his way. Hopefully the car is not damaged, but Alessio Deleida struggling at this moment in time. Now here we go, 4 minutes and 15 on the clock. And Guan Yu Zhou and Patrick Pasma very close in behind the race leader Chauvet. So there is Deleida getting out of his car. So unfortunate there, but Alessio Deleida in the Pinnacle Motorsport car now walks away from his machine. Oh no, sorry, that is Alexandre Bardinot, his teammate. I do apologise, that was Bardinot, not Deleida. So Deleida continues. But let's see if that could potentially, is that going to bring out the safety car? I think he's in a safe enough position there. Hopefully we're not going to have... Oh, we have got a safety car deployed. And no, 3 minutes and 40 on the clock as well. Oh, we were so close to a brilliant final couple of laps battle. But the safety car is being deployed out on the circuit. There it is. You can see the yellow flags to the side there. And I'm afraid the safety car is coming out on circuit. That is absolutely disastrous. Oh, the safety car is deployed. We are robbed of a thrilling battle between Chauvet, Zhou and Pasma to the flag. I'm not entirely sure now we're going to get another racing lap in, because obviously the safety car has to neutralise the situation, and they're going to complete at least one more lap under safety car conditions. And if you look at the time we've got, 3 minutes, a lap around the circuit is about 1 minute 58. So the race, I'm afraid to say, is going to finish under safety car procedure. That is such a shame. We had a great opportunity there for an absolute nail-biter to the flag. What it does mean, though, is that we are guaranteed to have Kush Maini in pole position for tomorrow's second race. His lap of a 1:57.460 will now not be beaten, so Kush Maini is going to start from pole position. There is the pinnacle of Alexandre Bardinot, who got involved in that little tussle with Lorenzo Fluscia. And sadly, his stranded car is the reason we're under safety car conditions. And it's the reason then that Pierre-Louis Chauvet is going to pick up his fifth victory of the season ahead of Guan Yu Zhou and Patrick Pasma. So that's going to be Patrick Pasma's first podium finish in Asian Formula 3. And it's going to be Kush Maini's first pole position. So it'll be Kush Maini ahead of Patrick Pasma, Guan Yu Zhou, Pierre-Louis Chauvet and Jehan Daruvala on P5 tomorrow. Just trying to figure out who's likely to be P6. Behind him on the starting grid, I think it's going to be Roman Stanek. He's the only other driver who's got it into a decent 1:57 lap. Then it will be Ayumu Uwasa. And then I think the fastest car after that is going to be Roy Nizani, who's been able to go slightly quicker than the likes of Roberto Faria and Cembolak Bassi and David Vidales with a 1:58.2. So this is all provisional, of course. But the grid positions are decided, of course, by the fastest racing lap in race 1. So Kush Maini is going to be starting from pole position in tomorrow's second race. Fantastic performance. So a really good opportunity, and that's the thing, if there's problems with the car, this is exactly what Lorenzo Fluscia did last time out at Abu Dhabi, of course, in round 3. He had a problem initially, and they thought, well, do you know what, let's bring it back into the pits, let's give him a good car, and hopefully he'll be able to continue his charge forward. And he got his fastest lap was the 4th fastest lap of the race, and he was able to hold on to that in race 2 to finish P4, his best result of the season. So Kush Maini with an opportunity again for the Mumbai Falcons Racing Team to have another strong run of it. But if you remember earlier in the season, he had a 2nd place on the starting grid, which came to nothing with a mechanical problem on the grid. So hopefully lightning isn't going to strike twice in the same place for Kush Maini. But what an absolutely sensational opportunity this is now for Pierre-Louis Chauvet. The time is going to tick down to nothing, and the Frenchman is going to have 25 points more in the bag, and that's 7 more than Guan Yu Zhou is going to score, so that will increase his lead over Zhou from 15 points to 22 points. And with Daruvala down in 5th position, it's going to increase his lead over Daruvala from 10 points to 25 points. So it's a decent lead now that Pierre-Louis Chauvet has got, but for those naysayers out there, all it takes is one DNF which Pierre-Louis Chauvet so far has yet to sustain, has yet to have. So it could still go anybody's way. And let's not forget that Guan Yu Zhou does have a DNF to his name, and Daruvala has a couple of 7th places. Pierre-Louis Chauvet has yet to finish lower than 5th position in a race so far. Every time he's been in the top 3, he has been a race winner. But all it takes is one poor result for him, and the championship is back on for the rest of the situation. So it's sure to be an absolute sizzler in tomorrow's second race. But Pierre-Louis Chauvet is going to take a rather simple victory in the end. He wasn't really given the opportunity, Guan Yu Zhou in second place, to really challenge him in the end. It was a good battle, and it certainly looked like it was hotting up to something pretty sensational. Unfortunate then that the safety car period rather killed off the challenge of Guan Yu Zhou and Patrick Pasma. But congratulations to Patrick Pasma, the Finn. He will get his first points. He will get his first podium, I should say. I do apologise. His first podium finish of the 2021 season, and that is great result for him. As for the other drivers in the fray, well, a good finish for Ciembolok Bassi in 7th place and for Roman Stanek in 6th. I'm fairly sure that's actually going to promote Ciembolok Bassi up into 6th position in the championship, because Ayuma Iwasa is going to move forward, and Roy Nizani has not been able to outscore Ciembolok Bassi. So it is going to be a fascinating challenge tomorrow. But Pierre-Louis Chauvet is going to be 22 points clear of Guan Yu Zhou and 25 points clear of Jehan Daruvala as they come through to finish this final ceremonial lap. So this will be an absolutely sensational finish to the battle, and Pierre-Louis Chauvet, it doesn't really matter. He can go when he likes because nobody can overtake until he gets to the checkered flag. But this is going to confirm it. It's been a brilliant opportunity for the Frenchman. He's taken it with both hands as Pierre-Louis Chauvet makes it 5 wins this season. And that takes him one step closer to becoming the 2021 Asian Formula 3 champion. Excellent chance for Pierre-Louis Chauvet now. A brilliant podium for Patrick Pasma. And a solid effort from Guan Yu Zhou in second place, with Ayuma Iwasa and Jehan Daruvala in the top 5. Good job from the Japanese driver today. He really has given himself an opportunity. So this is an absolutely sensational run from Pierre-Louis Chauvet. And he's not going to continue on his way without a massive, massive fight forward. Now, I'm being told on the timing screen, incident involving car 7 and car 25 and 62 under investigation. Now, 25 and 62 is Baldinon versus Flusha. That's what caused the safety car. But there is another incident that's being investigated involving car 7. That's Roberto Faria. So the Brazilian is being investigated as well. Not quite sure why, but certainly there is an interesting situation. So we'll have to see whether that whether there's any ramifications of that next time out. But Pierre-Louis Chauvet takes win number 5. And that is a brilliant opportunity for him. Jehan Daruvala just getting some airtime for the Mumbai Falcons. And a good result for him in 5th position. Not where he wanted to be, but you've got to keep scoring those points. Because obviously it's a very strong chance for him if he can keep getting those top 5 finishes in. And you never know what's going to happen, because we've obviously had some difficulties for Daruvala so far. We've had some difficulties for Zhou. Chauvet has had some races where he's not been on the top step of the podium, but the only times he's been to the podium thus far are when he's won. So all it takes is for one mechanical issue, one gremlin, one error in judgment, and this championship is still very much alive indeed. And of course, let's not forget that while Zhou and Chauvet have had strong pace at Dubai, and Jehan Daruvala really struggled at Dubai last time out, if you remember. You've got to remember that next time out at Abu Dhabi, last week in the 4 races, Jehan Daruvala picked up 3 victories. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this championship fight goes down to the wire between these 3 races, 2 of which are obviously hoping to score the 18 super license points that could carry them to a Formula 1 seat in 2022. And obviously give them a great boost of morale to go into the 2021 FIA Formula 2 Championship, because both drivers, Guan Yu Zhou and Jehan Daruvala, have seats for this season once again. So this will be a very interesting overnight situation for the teams. They will obviously go to work and try and tweak the car setup, try and get themselves into an optimum position. But Kush Maini, no pressure, Kush, but you've got yourself a pole position for race 2 tomorrow. And that's going to be something he's really got to focus on. And hopefully we will see an exceptional job from Kush Maini off the grid tomorrow. But the drivers in the top 3 will make their way down to Parc Fermé once again. And for the 5th time this season, Pierre-Louis Chauvet parks the Pinnacle Motorsport machine in front of Parc Fermé. What a sensational drive again from Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Just soaking up the pressure and getting the job done. That's what he's so good at. A really exceptional display from the Frenchman, just as he has done in the previous weekends. There has not been a single round of this championship now where Pierre-Louis Chauvet has not managed to take a victory. So that is a very impressive performance from this very talented and very highly rated Frenchman. But we will see more great action from the F3 Asian Championship tomorrow when round 4, race 2 gets underway. I'm Jake Sanson. We will catch up with all of the action again tomorrow, and it will be a fantastic battle when Kush Maini takes the pole position for Mumbai Falcons for race 2.
Jehan, Daruvala in 5th. Roman Stanek.
Yes, it's me. And no, it's not cricket. But it's the same energy. It's not between the runs, but the laps. It's not between 2 teams, but many to come. It's not just between the players, but also their machines. Sweat, not in the jerseys, but in their gears. It's about the race this time. Show up to cheer for Amchi Mumbai.
Mumbai Falcons at the Asian F3 Championship UAE.